All right, so today we're diving into a source that unpacks the future of AI by looking at it through one person, Sam Altman. And at the very heart of it all is a trillion-dollar deal that, according to this analysis, is being offered to, well, every single one of us. So the way this source frames it, it's like a grand bargain. You can think of it as this huge proposal coming from the entire AI industry, with Sam Altman basically acting as the lead negotiator. And the pitch he's making is both incredibly simple and just staggeringly big.
The promise is basically this. If we, all of us, help the industry get to true machine intelligence, then all of our biggest, most impossible problems, they'll just disappear. I mean, we're talking about curing diseases, solving climate change, making energy practically free, you name it.
But of course, a vision like that, it's got a price tag. And this one is, well, almost unbelievable. OpenAI has apparently committed to spending over $1 trillion on the infrastructure to make all this happen. And just to give you some perspective, their current revenue doesn't even come close to 1% of that number.
And that right there is the core of the deal. According to this analysis, it's not just about money. It's framed as this massive societal bet. A bet that's asking all of us to put everything, I'm talking our data, our resources, our entire economy, into this one single basket. Which naturally leads to the big question the source is digging into. If you look at the track record of the person offering this deal and the way the deal is structured, should we take this bet? And maybe the bigger question is, do we even have a choice? Okay, so to even start to unpack a question that big, the source says we gotta look back. Let's dig into the evidence it presents from Altman's early career and see if any patterns start to show up.
So the source lays out this timeline, and wow, it's a super fast rise to the top. It all starts back in 2005 with his first company, Loopt. By 2012, he sells it, starts a new fund with backing from billionaire Peter Thiel, and just 2 years after that, boom, he's the president of Y Combinator, which is one of the most powerful startup incubators in the world.
Okay, let's zoom in on Loopt, his first company. It was a social app for finding your friends, which means to be useful at all, it needed a ton of users. Altman kept saying they had way more users than anyone else, but the source notes he was always pretty vague about the actual numbers. But here's the thing. The source points to a Reuters report claiming that near the end, Loopt had only about 500 active users. When a reporter apparently confronted him with that number, Altman supposedly said the real number was 100 times bigger and promised to show proof that, according to the source, never showed up.
And the source gives this a name. They call it the first of many "just trust me, bro" moments. It's a pattern the analysis points to over and over again, making these huge, game-changing claims while keeping the proof behind closed doors. And this idea, this gap between what was said publicly and what was allegedly happening in private, well, that's a theme the source comes back to when he was president of Y Combinator. He publicly promised he wouldn't use his powerful position for personal gain, but the source alleges he used that inside access to invest his own money in the incubator's best company.
All right, let's jump forward to today. The source shifts its focus to how Altman's personal finances are, according to the analysis, woven directly into what OpenAI needs to operate.
So on the surface, Sam Altman has been super clear about this. He has zero equity in OpenAI. He said he's paid just enough to cover his health insurance and that he's doing it for the good of humanity, not the money. But, and this is a huge but in the analysis, the source points out a really critical distinction. While he might not own a piece of OpenAI, the company, he's reportedly a major investor in everything OpenAI needs to survive: the data for training, the massive amounts of energy for power, and the special hardware to run it all. So in effect, he has a stake in the entire supply chain that feeds OpenAI. The source really hammers this point home by looking at his huge stake in Reddit. It draws this really sharp contrast between Altman's deal to use Reddit's community data for a commercial product and the ideals of Reddit's late co-founder Aaron Swartz, who actually faced criminal charges for trying to make academic knowledge free for everyone. Okay, so this brings us to what might be one of the most interesting arguments in the whole analysis. The idea that Altman is set up to profit not just if AI succeeds, but also from the huge, new problems that AI itself is going to create. First up, let's talk about the energy problem. Building this AI future is going to take an absolutely staggering amount of electricity. The source estimates that the power demand could eventually be the same as the energy used by the entire country of India. That's 1.4 billion people. So right away, AI creates a huge energy problem. So you've got this massive energy problem. What's the solution on the table?
According to the source, it's a new wave of clean energy from nuclear fusion and microreactors. And, as the analysis points out, who happens to be a major investor in the key startups developing this exact tech, like Helion and Oklo? Sam Altman.
And the analysis says we're seeing a similar playbook with another big problem on the horizon: mass job loss and an internet that's flooded with deepfakes and bots. And what's the solution being offered? WorldCoin, an Altman-funded project to create a global ID by scanning your eyeball in exchange for crypto. It's the same pattern. AI creates a new problem, and an Altman-backed company is ready with the solution.
So, who pays for all this? How does this whole engine actually run? Well, that question brings us right back to that trillion-dollar basket, and who, exactly, is being asked to fill it up? Well, the source describes the funding as this kind of circular loop. For example, a tech giant like NVIDIA might pour billions of dollars into OpenAI. Then, OpenAI immediately turns around and uses that very same money to buy billions of dollars worth of computer chips from NVIDIA. The money goes in, and then it flows right back out to the investor. But what if all that private money, billions and billions, still isn't enough to hit that trillion-dollar mark? The source points to a statement from OpenAI's own chief financial officer, who suggested that the whole project might eventually need a government backstop. Basically, a guarantee from the public that it won't fail. In other words, our tax dollars. So when the source keeps saying all our eggs in one basket, this is exactly what they're talking about. It's our collective data. It's our energy and our water. It's our economic infrastructure, pumped up with billions from private investors. And maybe, as the final safety net, it's our tax dollars. According to this analysis, we're all in on this bet, whether we chose to be or not. And all of that brings us to the final, really provocative question that this material leaves us hanging with. On one side, you have this incredible promise to solve all of humanity's problems. On the other, you have an alleged pattern of big promises and a financial risk that is almost too big to imagine. So the question is, what happens to all of us if we take this bet and we lose? What happens if this one single trillion-dollar basket drops?